CVS or when they're at a department store, they should really know what's in the products that they're planning on buying.
What are the rules as it relates to, what you can put on a label? We always see things as we walk through the Publix or the CVS, even on the food aisle, something is, I guess if it says gluten-free, we just assume it is gluten-free. But then there are all these other labels, that say, well, it's healthy or it's nutritious or it's organic.
And those are much less regulated. So pretty much with skincare products, sometimes they can say whatever they want. And that's the scary thing that we were talking about last week. It's they have standards that they do have to follow. For example, they use something called an INCI classification, which is all the major ingredients need to be listed first. But then after that, there's some little sidelines that they have as well. So anything under 1% that constitutes less than 1% of the product can be organized in any fashion that they want. And things like fragrances, even though they're usually put at the end of the list, they don't really have to specify what those fragrances are. So those are just some interesting little tidbits.
Hey, when you see something on a lot of dermatological sorts of things, or any just sort of skincare treatments that you can buy at Walgreens or what have you, it'll say hypoallergenic. I have no idea what that means. As a layman, I'm thinking that means that it's less likely to give me a skin rash.
That's pretty good.
Really?
See? You don't need so much educating. I think you're pretty good.
But what does that really mean?
Well, the bottom line is the term is a little misleading. You're right in the fact that it's meant to be less allergenic, but in reality, it depends what a certain human being would be allergic to. So if you're allergic to some of the products that are in that product, if you're allergic to the ingredients in that product, it's not going to be less hypoallergenic for you.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
That does. So it's, just because it's hypoallergenic or it's going to decrease the likelihood that I may have an allergic reaction to this particular skincare product, that may be my case, but everybody is different. We all have different body chemistry.
Correct. So if you have an ingredient that's listed in that product, you're going to react from it. So hypoallergenic is just really not clear all, everything's okay, no problem with this kind of verbiage.
So when we see something that says it's oil-free, just to look at that one more time, it's like, why is oil bad? I guess I think oil, I remember thinking back to being a teenager and using Clearasil, which was probably like some horrible thing in the 80s, right, or in the 70s. But that oil is bad for my skin. But is it really bad for my skin?
So it depends on the kind of oil. Some of these oils are they're very occlusive. They clog your pores and they can create some irritation. But moisture to the skin is a really good thing. So as long as you're contributing moisture but not clogging the pores and not allowing the skin to breathe. So they're two different aspects, really. So in the past, also in products, they used to use a lot of very bad oils that were clogging pores and creating issues with acne and things. So the fact that it's oil-free is going to be a good thing. They're using something else to provide the moisture and not clog pores.
So that gets to the term non-comedogenic?
Yes.
Wow, what is that? That is the first time that term has ever been said on this radio station. I can assure you
Are you sure about that?
Oh, that's way beyond our fifth grade vocabulary.
So what that means is these kind of products are not going to assist in creating comedones, which is more like these whiteheads, blackheads, and also pimples. So nothing anybody wants.
So you can get a pimple, right? Teenagers get a bad rap, that they're always the ones getting acne and pimples. But it's entirely possible to get a pimple even in your 40s, right?
Oh, absolutely. We see people all the time who one of their biggest complaints is either hormonal blemishes or just full-blown acne as an adult. And they are just mortified by this because bottom line, when you're a teenager, it stinks. But when you're an adult, I think it's worse.
Once again, Dr. Calpana DePasquale is with us live here in St. Augustine this morning at 8 minutes after 8 o'clock, 66 degrees downtown. We are expecting a high today of about 80 degrees, and we'll maintain those high temperatures all the way through Monday with no chance of rain. Perfect weather tomorrow for the Florida-Georgia game up in Jacksonville. Perfect weather tomorrow night, once again, for trick-or-treating. If you have any questions, too, about any of these topics we're hitting on, I know a lot of you have to come and go, and we want you to really check out some of the products that are available with the Avanti Med Spa, because a lot of these issues that we're tackling in terms of oil and chemicals and all that's in all that stuff that you see at Walgreens or in the Publix, healthcare aisle, really you don't have those sorts of problems with products that are sold through Avanti, right?
No, and these were things that were always issues that I saw in other products and wanted to make sure that we eliminated the things that are not so important to have in our body and add more of the good stuff.
Yeah, and if you want to learn more about those products, go to this website, shopavantirx.com. That's shopavantirx.com, or go to avantimedspa.net. That's avantimedspa.net, and we'll put this information up on our Facebook page here in just a minute, too, so you don't have to worry about writing all that down. We'll be right back with Dr. DePasquale. Stay tuned. Earth, Wind, and Fire, and they were recently at our St. Augustine Amphitheater last year. Did a great show. Hopefully they'll be back again soon. 16 minutes now after 8 o'clock. Dr. Calpana DePasquale is with me here live in the studio, helping me play the music, which in her world is about the easiest thing she ever gets to do. I mean, come on. When you're like an ear, nose, and throat specialist and you're heading up a medical spa, to help people look even more beautiful. This whole radio thing is pretty darn easy, right? You can do that with one eye closed and one arm tied behind your back.
Well, I only have to answer the questions. I don't have to actually play the music. I wouldn't know how to do that.
Yeah, not anybody can do that. Well, okay, a monkey and a banana can do that, but no. Hey, we're having a good time this morning, and we started last week on a very interesting topic. Actually, I heard from some people, too, during the week who heard you last week. Just the whole notion of labeling, because I do think, despite the cynical world that we live in 2015, I think most of us still believe stuff we see on labels, especially when it relates to things that are supposed to take care of our bodies. We want to believe that.
I think we typically can be very naive. I mean, I've done it as well. It's just something that happens to all of us. So it's important to understand what's going on.
I love the one that you see on a lot of things. Dermatologist recommended.
Yes.
So what does it take? One?
Yeah.
That's basically it.
That's it.
And it can be some dude like in Costa Rica, right?
Yeah, or who doesn't even have an active license. It really doesn't matter. Just one person recommended, dermatologist recommended. We can put that on the label. When
Dr. DePasquale said we were going to talk about that this morning, because it made me think that when I see dermatologist recommended, I'm assuming it's like the Academy of Dermatologists have all gotten together and they voted on this, and it's, you know what I mean?
Yes,
but you can understand why I would think that.
Yes, and it doesn't say recommended by the American Academy of Dermatology.
Yeah, and they're probably not likely to ever do that. But
exactly.
Yeah, all right. Or it's like when we see toothpaste that says dentist recommended.
Exactly.
Just takes one.
Exactly.
All right.
Just one. And it's so funny how many different types of toothpaste are available on the shelves.
Oh, I know.
And just the same way, skincare products are the same thing. So you really have to be discerning and understand what you're paying for. And if you decide you're going to pay more for something, at least make sure it's worth it.
Now, when we see items, especially in the skincare area, that say they're alcohol-free, why should we care?
Well, bottom line is ethyl alcohol is usually kind of irritating to the skin. So most of the products that say alcohol-free are looking at ethyl alcohol. And it dries the skin. It's not something we want. It's an irritant. So look for products that say alcohol-free. Sometimes they may have some other better kinds of alcohol, and those are okay. The fatty alcohols are actually beneficial to the skin, but it's the ethyl alcohol that you want to avoid.
And, of course, we hit on this a little bit last week, but a lot of items have this on there. It's natural.
That's my favorite.
What does that mean? I'll tell you what, it sounds good. I mean, how can you not like anything that's natural, Dr. DePasquale?
Yes, it sounds fantastic, but the reality is that there are a lot of chemicals in there. Sometimes they have some natural ingredients, but you really have to read the whole label. It's not even regulated. That's what we talked about last time. It isn't a regulated term. Anybody could put it on their product. Doesn't mean anything.
I always chuckle because, indeed, a lot of our more complex chemicals, not that I'm in any way near chemist like your father-in-law, but they're natural. I mean, there are naturally occurring chemicals out there, right? I mean, the whole periodic table kind of reflects that.
Absolutely. I mean, water is a chemical. It's made of separate compounds, and it's a chemical. So when we use the word chemicals, I guess that's a great point of clarification. When I'm talking about a chemical, I'm really talking about a chemical in the way that it can be harmful to us or harmful to our body. So although water is a chemical, I don't consider it harmful. So I'm not worried about that one.
It's interesting. You point out that when something is natural, they could have something as, that's as non-threatening as rosemary, or an herb or lemon or something like that. But that could still be very irritating, right?
Yes, it actually, most people are, I wouldn't say allergic, but typically rosemary, chamomile, mint, and lemon can be kind of irritating to a lot of people's skin. Again, not everybody, but they tend to be more of the common irritants.
So I can tell you as an average person, I would read those ingredients, on some lotion and say, oh, that's got to work. That's got to be good stuff, right? Rosemary, what's wrong with that?
That's right. It smells great. It's a natural herb. It's fantastic. But you put enough of it on your skin and it can irritate you. Again, not everybody, but we just have to be careful. And actually, one of the best recommendations is if you like a product, the best thing to do before slathering it all over is do a little test on some part of your skin in a small area and use it for 2 or 3 days and make sure you don't react.
That's funny. Because, when you go to... like one of these big stores in the mall that has the tester, know, and I'm like the same way. I mean, if I can find a tester that's like men's lotion, I will not do what you just said. Put a little bit on. I just slather it all over because it's like, man, this stuff's free. I get to try this like Ralph Lauren lotion. It's not going to cost me anything. And then of course you put it all over you, and then it smells, and you don't know what to do. And then you're going to try to find some alcohol pads to wipe it all off. So by the time I leave the mall, I've violated every rule you've talked about this morning.
I think it's good if you're trying to have your wife locate you, then she can find you and easily find where you are because of the smell.
Yeah, Christy hates that because the other thing I like to do is I squirt myself with like all the different colognes, so I end up smelling like a roll of Lifesavers by the time I get out of there. Which we should talk about that too. So I'm
wondering if she might not take you to the mall very often. I'm thinking.
I don't get to go out very often.
No, I'm thinking no.
It's best that I stay away. But that does point to, a little bit off our little notes here, but fragrances, right? Can they be irritants?
They can. I mean, if you look, so I try to recommend using fragrances that are from essential oils. We touched on this last week as well. But if you look at most of the skincare products out there, most of the time, the last ingredient is fragrance. And then I go, I wonder what that's from. They don't have to tell you.
We don't know where that's from.
No, and they don't have to tell you. So it's just your guess is as good as mine.
All right. So we know when we go to Publix that they have a lot of organic things. When we come back, I'm going to ask Dr. DePasquale, does organic automatically equal better? And we'll find that out in just a moment. It is 23 minutes after 8 o'clock. Hope you're having a good Friday morning. It's TGIF Friday here in St. Johns County. So Dr. DePasquale, long before there was Facebook and Twitter and all that, there was the grapevine.
There was the grapevine.
Yeah, the Marvin Gaye was singing about, and that was probably as unreliable as Facebook and Twitter.
I would imagine. I remember when we used to play telephone with cans and a string. So it just gives you an idea of how long I've been around.
Did you ever, not as long as me, or Bonnie Hayfork is here with us as well. But, we
goodness.
love Bonnie, though.
I don't think she loves you anymore.
Yeah, that's right. She's a good sport. But one thing, did you ever play the telephone game, though, which I think is such a great human psychology experiment? I tell you something.
Yes.
I say, Bonnie just bought a new Volkswagen Golf, and then you tell somebody and they tell somebody, it goes around the whole classroom or whatever.
Right.
And then by the time we get to the end, Bonnie has bought a new Rolls Royce.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
Actually, that's why I hang out with Bonnie. Because she's got a Rolls Royce.
Yeah. Very nice, Bonnie, by the way. We don't get a lot of those here at WSOS. Dr. Kalpana DePasquale is with us live. She joins us every Friday morning. We appreciate her taking time out of her very busy schedule. We learn a lot, and we talk about a variety of different issues, in addition to, of course, being the founder of St. Augustine Ear, Nose, and Throat, with offices over on the island as well as in Ponte Vedra and in the Nice High School area. She also has Avanti Medical Spa. And before we get into talking a little bit more about labeling and all that, kind of give us the quick explanation of what you and your team do at Avanti.
At Avanti Medical Spa, we really focus on giving people a natural, not an overdone look, especially when they're trying to rejuvenate for the holidays or for special occasions. We focus on things we have plant-based products that are good for your skin to help nourish your skin during the points where you're having these procedures done. A basic team-based approach. We like it there.
Yeah. And, of course, I guess patients or people that just, that want to take advantage of your services, it starts with a kind of a basic analysis of, these are some of the things that could help you out, right?
Absolutely. Usually what we'd like to do is talk to the patient, see what they're looking for, and from there perform a skin analysis and really go in detail and in depth about what kind of result they're trying to achieve. And our job is to help them achieve that in the best way possible.
Let's talk a little bit about labeling and all that. We've been talking with Dr. DePasquale this morning about all these labels we see on stuff that we will put on our bodies, things that say something is natural or it's alcohol free or it's been recommended by dermatologists, and what all that means. And obviously I think what you're advocating overall, and we should all take heed, is just have some healthy skepticism, right? And read a little bit, right?
I think that's very important, just not to believe what we see on the label.
Right. One of the labels that's very common in this day and age is organic. Obviously, if anything is organic, it must be better for us, right, Dr. DePasquale?
That's right. I have to tell you, that specific issue brought me to a lot of skepticism in the beginning, just because, when all this organic stuff started coming out, I was like, is it really worth it to pay 3 times more for a milk?
Right.
I really had to do some. It's organic. So what does that really mean? And I really, really thought about it. I researched it. I really couldn't find a lot of great answers, because what organic really means is just that it's grown without the use of pesticides or chemical processing. But there are a lot of different grades of what that means. And, for me, that's important. But in my milk specifically, I was more concerned about were the cows fed with grass, or were they fed with, did they get antibiotics? And there was nowhere that I could find the answer to those questions. So again, I think that organic is important, and I agree that pesticides are no good for us. But sometimes for me, I was more interested in, was my chicken hormone, fed with antibiotics? Are there hormones in there to help them grow faster? I could never find the answer to those questions.
That's Dr. DePasquale. She's with us live here in St. Augustine this morning. And, of course, you can reach her and the team at Avanti Med Spa and also at St. Augustine Ear, Nose, and Throat by calling this telephone number, 904-461-6797. That's 461-6797. You can always check them out online, too, at avantimedspa.net, avantimedspa.net. Speaking of organics, one term that you see thrown out on a lot of different, tubes of stuff is skin organics.
Yes, that's a newfangled trendy word.
Man, how can that be bad?
Right,
it's organic and it goes on my skin.
So it's fantastic,
Absolutely.
Except it means nothing. So if you see that, don't even buy it.
Wow. Well, so we have all that stuff going on. So it makes it tough for people, when they're trying to figure out what to put on their skin. What are some basic rules of thumb? What would you tell people?
Well, you want to look for some of the ingredients in skincare that are good for you. For example, you want to look for things like humectants, because you have to moisturize the skin, and that's what humectants do. They provide moisture to the skin's upper layers. So examples of humectants are glycerin, urea, panthenol, and ceramides. Emollients are what makes the skin feel smoother. So you want to look for popular things like they can be from plants and fruits. So you want to try to see if you can't find something with some sort of grapes, avocados, almonds, coconuts, sunflowers. And again, we talked about avoiding those bad alcohols like the ethyl alcohol.
Okay. All right. So good rules of thumb there, if you will. And, if you keep using the stuff that's good for your skin, what are realistic expectations? As a lot of our listeners are in their 50s, 60s, 70s. What can we expect from good products that have some of these things that you've just talked about?
That's such a great point that you bring up, because unfortunately, most of the people that we see do not believe in skincare. I think that the public has been jaded by all these products out there with not so great ingredients, and then they are not effective and they don't work. So the public opinion is skincare doesn't work. There's no reason to invest in that. That is entirely wrong. So I truly believe that if you invest in a good skincare regimen from as young as you possibly can, going forward, it will make a really, really big difference in your life. For example, I was always taking care of my skin from when I was very, very young, and it has made a big difference in my life. And people need to know that, because it's not all... You don't want to follow the hype, but if you look at the things that really count and you invest in them, it can really make a big difference in the future.
I guess we all know that we need to take care of our heart, the various organs in our body that we should do things to take care of. We're very conscious of that. But I guess most of us don't really think that, which is true, that our skin is fundamentally an organ too, right?
It is. And what it does is, it provides a barrier, but it also absorbs all the things that we put on it, including probably not the chemicals that we don't want inside. But so what's an interesting fact that I've noticed lately is people are living longer because they are taking better care of their bodies. And the most common thing I hear from people who are not happy with their appearance, I think they didn't expect to be around so long, and all of a sudden they say, gosh, I feel 20 years younger, but I look 20 to 30 years older than I feel, and I don't like that feeling.
Okay.
Very common.
Right. Hey, when we come back, we know that obviously ingesting vitamins through food that we may eat or in other ways is good for us, but what about vitamins as it relates to our skin? We're going to talk with Dr. DePasquale about that, so stay tuned. 24 minutes now before 9 o'clock. We're live in St. Augustine. 67 degrees on our way up to a high of 80. No chance of rain until Monday. Elvin Bishop and fooled around and fell in love. Sometimes that's the way it happens, right, Dr. DePasquale? Not to put on your psychotherapist
I have no
hat.
idea what you're talking about.
Oh, come on, You don't want to be like Delilah on the radio and just give love advice.
No.
You'd have to talk like that.
Yeah, I don't even think I know how to talk like that. Oh, maybe that was close.
Do you know people, though, like when you were in medical school? Because we've seen all these TV shows. We know what happens with you guys in medical school when you're residents at hospitals. We see all the drama that goes on. We know
There's
that
a lot of drama, like Grey's Anatomy.
Yeah, exactly like Grey's Anatomy. Isn't it just like Grey's Anatomy when you were like a resident?
Well, first of all, I didn't see anybody that looked like the cast of Grey's Anatomy when I was in medical
They're not
school.
all
or
pretty
resident.
people?
No. I mean, some of them were, but there was nobody that looked like, what is his name, Patrick Dempsey? There was nobody that looked like that.
Now, what was he? He's like, Dr. McDreamy.
Yep. Nobody looked like that where I was going training. I don't know.
Anybody at Flagler Hospital that would qualify as a Dr. McDreamy? Let's go ahead and say no, because if we say yes, one of these docs is going to think that they're that good looking. We don't want them to think that anyway.
It's always funny because the people who really talk about that, or we have some elderly patients, they're funny. They just say whatever they want about certain doctors. And
That's funny.
It's hysterical, actually.
Yeah, we had this. I had one lady that called in one time. We had a doctor on from Flagler Hospital who was born in Columbia. And he was working at their urgent care center, actually, near where we live, out at Marabella.
Okay.
And she said, he's unbelievably good looking.
That's right. That's exactly what I hear.
He talked with that subtle sort of Latin accent, too. And it was like a soap opera star. It's pretty funny. And she was talking about him, and we'd had him on the radio. And then I had a eye infection, of all things. And I had to go to that urgent care center one night, and he was my doctor. So it was pretty funny.
And did you think he was like McDreamy?
He was pretty darn good looking. I'm very heterosexual, but I'll acknowledge that he's much better looking than I am. Anyway, it is about 16 minutes now before 9 o'clock. Dr. DePasquale is with us here live in the studio. We've been talking about labeling on all the stuff that you may be applying to your body, and that includes guys out there too. Back in the day of what was that crazy TV show? Queer Eye for the Straight Guy or whatever that show. We first heard the term product. Because. This notion, and now, most guys know that they should put some lotion on after they shave or something like that, or we should definitely use sunscreen.
Definitely use sunscreen, yes.
What are some of the issues you think guys, because we probably use a minimal amount of, quote, product or lotions compared to our lady friends, but what should be some basic guidelines for guys out there?
Simple stuff. Don't use soap on your face.
Really?
Soap is extremely drying, and it's going
Broke
to...
that rule about 2 hours ago.
Exactly. I know. Most men use soap. And after that, at least, if nothing else, just moisturize and put on sunscreen. I mean, you can keep it pretty basic down to 3 steps. But it's interesting that you say that, because these days, the younger generation, they no longer think it's weird to put product on or look good, or they're just different now.
I kind of get a sense of that, because if you do go to Walgreens or CVS or what have you, you will see the aisle and all the Axe products, which are clearly targeted to a younger male demo. So if you are a 20-something, just so we're connected with what our kids or grandkids might be doing, what are they doing? What kind of stuff is a guy that's in his 20s doing to what kind of lotions and stuff are they putting on, and what should they not be putting on?
Well, the bottom line is keep all the same rules that we're talking about. Just try to avoid the chemicals, the fragrances, and things like that. But it's funny that age group is a very popular age group, because you can even see the big manufacturers are creating products to target that age group, because it's no longer what it used to be where, I don't put anything on my face.
Right.
I don't care about that. Men are living longer. They want to look better. It starts to change, and these guys coming out even in their teens are starting to care what they look like and make sure their skin looks good, et cetera, et cetera.
So it's more than just slapping on some Old Spice and calling it a day.
Yes. Does Old Spice even exist? I guess it
does exist.
Okay. I thought it was gone.
Yeah, it exists in my bathroom, actually.
Oh, okay.
No, just kidding.
Send me a photo later. I forgot what it looks like.
So what does your husband use?
He uses Avanti RX.
Does he? Oh,
yeah.
Smart guy.
Well,
Does he get it at a discount?
I charge him extra.
You should.
I do. There's a markup.
Oh, man. I got us a little off track, though, but a lot of these products will say that they have vitamins in them. And I guess as a layman, I will tell you that we're probably a little perplexed, Dr. DePasquale, as to how vitamins in a lotion-type product applied to our skin actually get into our body.
Well, again, we talked about the skin. It absorbs everything we put on it. So it's important to actually have vitamins in our skincare products because they protect against free radicals. They protect against sun damage, moisture loss, and also we want to look for the big vitamins. The key vitamins that you want to look for is vitamin A, which you may even see as another word called retinol. You could see vitamin C, which is also ascorbic acid, and vitamin E, which is tocopherol. So these are things you might want to watch for to have some vitamins in your skincare products.
Okay. And then, too, let's talk a little bit about acids. When I think of acids, I think of high school chemistry and hydrochloric acid, scary things, or battery acid. But apparently, not all acid is bad for our skin.
That is correct. So number one, I do not recommend putting battery acid or hydrochloric acid on your face. So let's start with that.
Please take note of that.
Yeah, say no to that. But there are acids out there that are actually beneficial to your skin, like hydroxy acids, glycolic acid, lactic acid, beta hydroxy acids, and even salicylic acid. So those are really important in exfoliating our skin, giving us a nice luminous complexion. And also salicylic acid is very beneficial for acne and blemishes.
So at the end of the day, we're really like snakes, right? We're supposed to get rid of our old dead skin.
We are. There are people that we see that as soon as they just come into the office and get a microdermabrasion or a facial, it's amazing how much better their skin looks because we just removed all the years of dead skin cells.
Right. You understand, though, that for those of us that are unsophisticated, that seems counterintuitive. Like some of us are actually worried that we only have so much skin, and by getting rid of that skin, we're going to run out.
We don't want the dead skin cells because they're dead. You want the good, healthy skin cells to show, and that's what we're after. And the skin does regenerate, so we're not really stripping anything. We're just removing the dead skin cells that are there just to clog your pores and make your skin look dull and have a dull complexion.
Well, that's, once again, Dr. Kalpana DePasquale, and you can reach her in a variety of different ways. One, check out the website, saent.net. That's saent.net. We'll put a link to that up on our Facebook page at WSOS Radio. You can also call and schedule a consultation where you can talk about all these issues and also learn more about the Avanti line of skincare products by calling 461-6060, 461-6060 here in St. Johns County. We're going to come back and wrap things up with Dr. DePasquale, so stay tuned.
It's been a hard day's night, and I've been working like a dog. It's been a hard day's night, I should be sleeping like a I think I could stay with you.
Little River Band here on 99.5 WSOS on this beautiful Friday morning, 6 minutes now before 9 o'clock as we wrap up our time with Dr. Kalpana DePasquale, and she lives with us right here in St. Johns County, and she also, of course, is the founder of St. Augustine Ear, Nose, and Throat. She is an ear, nose, and throat doctor and specialist, and she has offices over on the island just off the 312 bridge, as well as up in Ponte Vedra in the Nice High School area. And if you have any questions, you might want to check out the website, saent.net. That's saent.net. If anybody in your family, friends, neighbors have any ear, nose, and throat issues, we encourage you to call and learn more. And you can do that. What's that phone number again? You guys have a phone over there, right?
We do.
Old school.
Yes, 461-6060.
That's right. And this morning we're also talking a little bit more about another focus that Dr. DePasquale has, because she's a very busy lady, and that is the Avanti Medical Spa, right?
That is.
Talk to us a little bit. Give us the quick explanation of what Avanti does.
Avanti really focuses on getting you to look and feel your best in the most minimally invasive manner as possible.
There you go. Hey, we've been talking about different ingredients, things that, depending on what you purchase over the counter at Walgreens or Publix or what have you, there are all these different items and chemicals that you could be putting on your skin. And there are some things that you may want to stay away from before we wrap things up. Kind of give us some of the items that we may want to stay away from.
I would say one of the big ones are parabens. They're used as a lot of synthetic preservatives. They attack bacteria and mold, but some people don't really have an adverse reaction, but a lot of people do. And you want to really read the labels and look for little names that have paraben in them, like methylparaben, ethylparaben, propylparaben, and butylparaben. So those are things that, again, it's not been proven, but first of all, in breast cancer and things like that, they've talked about this being a possible contributing factor. So in my opinion, if it's possible, I'd probably rather not have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then let's talk to, before we wrap things up totally, we've seen this for years on different packaging, that something has artificial colors and fragrances. I would imagine some of the lotions, if they didn't put in a nice color to make it look nice and creamy, it would be pretty scary.
Well, not necessarily.
No?
I mean, we don't have any artificial colors or fragrances in our
Okay.
product, and nothing looks scary. You got to, obviously, it's a little more to watch for, but I prefer to not have things that are bright pink or bright orange. I mean, obviously, I know there's going to be some sort of artificial color. So, on that note, you want to avoid artificial colors. Look for things like FD&C or DNC on the label. Also, FD&C, red number of 6. All those kind of things are going to give you clues that there's some artificial colors. But honestly, you don't even have to go that far. If you open it up and it's really a funny color, you can probably assume that it's not natural.
And the products that you've been involved with, that you've overseen with Avanti RX, these do not have all this stuff in them, right?
No, and it was a big focus of mine to keep those things out of the products. They're not helpful to us in any way, so they don't need to be in there.
If you want to learn more, too, go to shopavantirx.com, and we'll put a link to that on our Facebook page. That's shopavantirx.com. And if you'd like to learn more about the different services provided at the Avanti Med Spa, we encourage you to do that by calling 461-6797. That's 461-6797. And, of course, they have locations right here in St. Johns County. Any closing thoughts, Dr. DePasquale, before we let you go?
Oh, no, not really. I just want to tell everybody have a great weekend. It's Friday, after all.
That's right. And have a very safe Halloween. And Dr. DePasquale, we will see you again next Friday morning at 8.
Sounds good.
Thank you. It's exactly 9 o'clock in St. Augustine.